Turntable Studio. If you're new here, welcome. If you're back again, thanks for coming. We're talking about playing over changes again today. My brain and fingers aren't quite connected yet this morning. I need coffee and I haven't had any. But we're talking about playing over kind of an altered chord sequence again. By altered, I mean one of the chords is kind of different to how it usually is in a major key. So we're in the key of G major today. As you can see, my mouth isn't working. We'll have a go. So G major, the chords are G major, then we've got B7. This is all in the key of G major. So G major, B7, E minor 7, and C. So usually in the key of G major, the third chord, the 3 chord, is minor. It would normally be B minor. But quite often, the 3 chord gets adjusted to a dominant 7th chord. It gives hope and lift to the melody, and it sweetens the melody, that kind of thing. So G major, B7, E minor, 7, and C. And that's all I was doing at the beginning. That's what I was playing over. So playing the change is, we're talking about the B7, right? We're talking about this chord that's usually a minor, and in this case it's a dominant 7th chord. And this sequence pops up all the time, and that's why I want to cover it. Similar to the last video on playing the changes, I wanted to cover it because it comes up a lot, since kind of, I'm trying to think, like, Imagine, Lennon, John Lennon, Imagine, I think does that, plus like a billion other songs. So you will come across it. So playing over that change, all I was doing was I was generally in G major, the G major scale, G major pentatonic, which I'm also thinking E minor or E minor pentatonic because they are one and the same. They come from the same DNA. So G major pentatonic, I was kind of in this area to begin with. That kind of thing. But you can do that one there. I was kind of thinking E minor. I'm kind of looking at that really in my head. Anyway, that's kind of the G major E minor position I'm in. When it hits that 3 chord, B7, I'm just seeing that triad in my head. So the B major triad, right? And just trying to hit one of them notes. Doesn't always happen. I do make mistakes, and that's okay, especially this morning. So when it gets to that 3rd chord, I'm trying to hit the B major arpeggio there. And the same up higher, so I was in this higher version, E minor pentatonic or G major pentatonic. And then I was hitting on the 3 chord, I was hitting that triad. If you've seen the triad trick video, you'll know that shape, but I was kind of seeing that shape, which is, let's think about fret numbers for a minute. I don't do fret numbers very well, but I'll have a go. So 13, 11, 12. Yes, I got it right. So I just see in shapes and patterns all the time. So fret numbers is tricky for me. But anyway, so that's the B major triad. Sometimes up to that top note here as well. And that's where it comes from, that kind of C shape. C-shaped chord, if you like. It's like a C-shaped bar chord version of a C shape, obviously from the caged system. So I'm seeing that one. So also up here. That little B major arpeggio there. And it fits nicely around that scale because it's all in the same area, which is nice. If you're uncomfortable kind of going too far outside like the scale and it's hard for you to think of how to connect it to other licks, because I know some of you kind of mentioned that and said, look, I can kind of see what you're doing, but it's connecting it into what I'm already doing, and that is tricky. That's almost where you need like a little bit of a one-on-one coaching session really. But what I would suggest is to take a lick you already know and then just try and maybe just add in one of those notes over that B chord. Just pick one. The major third is always a good one, which in this case is a D sharp. See there, or here. So if you've got a lick that, I don't know, just try and land on that major third, and then just leave it. Just leave the major third hanging over that B chord, and it'll sound great. You haven't got to be really technical about this. Remember, it's melody. It's about music. It's about creating a piece of music and a melody. If you think of it from a singer's point of view, you know, breathe. Make sure you leave some space. You haven't got to fill it. You know, and I say this to a lot of students all the time when they first start to improvise. They just try and fill every single gap they can, and you don't have to do that. You know, leave lots of space. Leave 4 beats. Leave an entire bar with just a note hanging, or more than that. Give yourself time to think before you do the next bit, right? So feel free to leave space. It's okay to do that. Look at any great guitar player ever, and generally if they do a kind of blues solo or any kind of rock solo, they'll start leaving a bit more space and the solo will end with them going crackers. That's generally any decent guitar solo ever will generally do that. You know, it'll start by, you know, I don't know, let's pick like All Right Now, great song. Starts. He weren't afraid to leave an absolute ton of space, but then obviously by the end of the song, it's, you know, there's loads more notes going on, and there's loads more kind of excitement, and you know, it's reaching a climax at that point. Anyway, sorry, got sidetracked there for a minute, but feel free to leave space. If you find it tricky to kind of hit any of those notes of the B triad, just pick one. I suggest the major third because it's the one that sounds really pretty. So pick that one and just try and factor it into a lick that you're finishing. So if you're going, and just hang that over the B, right? Let's give that a go. Let it hang. Back to E minor. Just managed to slip into it at the end, and you know, you'll make mistakes, and that's just how you learn. I'm still learning 37 years later playing guitar. I'm still learning every single day from lots of other people, so don't be afraid to do that. Anyway, the other position I was in, I was kind of position 2 of the E minor pentatonic, if you like, kind of up here, and then you've got this B triad. I won't get my fingers in the frets, that is. I need to go on a finger diet. Do some finger cardio. Slim the fingers. So yeah, get in the B major triad there as well, which is 14, 16, 16. And that kind of fits nicely into, and then back into the position 1. So that was the other area I kind of covered in that solo at the beginning, in that bit of improvisation. The other thing I was doing was I was generally just playing the chord tones, almost laying a little bit of a bed. Sometimes it's nice to not always just play melody and just play almost some chord tones in a bit of a bed. And I was doing that up here first. Those 2 notes from a G major chord. Then these 2 from the B. Then these 2 from the E. And those 2 from the C. And I'll do the same thing down here. And it's quite nice to do that kind of thing, especially if someone else has taken a solo. You can kind of, you know, you don't always want to be, you know, kind of fill in every single bit of frequency in the band. You know, if it's, you know, the dynamic of the song is a little bit softer, you can, you know, it's quite a nice little bit to do as an accompaniment. That kind of thing. That works really, really nicely. Obviously, as you go through this chord sequence, you can highlight some of the major thirds of the other chords as well. They already exist in the G major / E minor scale anyway, but it's sometimes nice to highlight those as you go through. So if you're playing B, E minor, triad, and then C. So these two notes work really nicely over E minor and C. Same up here, got a C here, so that's just coming from that little D shape of a C major chord there. So E minor, I was kind of highlighting that sometimes on the E minor as well. So there's the B, E minor, and C. So if you want to be more adventurous, you can try and, you know, hit the major thirds or the chord tones of all the chords through the sequence. But I suggest to begin with, play with the G major / E minor, and then just focus on that B7. In the major third is always a good place to start. And then just link a major third of a D, which is a D sharp, of a B7, which is a D sharp. Just link that on the end of a lick that you're coming out of the G, and just link that on the end. Do that to begin with and see how you get on. And then just build it from there, just have a go. And I hope this is kind of giving you something new to have a go at. This is something, like I said earlier, it comes up all the time, this sequence. It's a really, really popular sequence, so you're bound to come across it at some point. And it's just a little bit more interesting and sweeter melodically if you can play that change on the B over the B7 over the major 3 chord. But yeah, anyway, I hope you've enjoyed today's lesson. I hope you've learned something from it. If so, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. If you have subscribed already, thank you. And those that are constantly commenting and sending me messages and all sorts, I really appreciate it. Hit the like button as well if you can, because that shows kind of lots of other people on YouTube these videos, and hopefully it'll help them out as well. There is also a PayPal link for a tip jar if you do want to send me a tip. There's, you know, you're not obliged to do so. Entry is free. But if you do appreciate what I'm doing here, then there is a PayPal link below. You're welcome to send me a tip. I'd really appreciate it. Helps, you know, keep the lights on in the studio and all that. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy. See ya.